Well, good afternoon to everybody. I decided to do another video, kind of unscripted, a little bit different than what I normally do, but a military video nonetheless. Western Europe in 1941, the air over, was dominated on the continent by Germany. The Battle of Britain is over. Invasion of Britain never was to occur, never did occur, and will occur. And so you have airspace over France open for air battle, as well as airspace in southern England. Well, the technology in the planes kind of changed. On the German side, the venerable ME109 E was replaced by the ME109 F, the Friedrich. Rounded, aerodynamic, with a different engine. This one has a Daimler-Benz DB601E producing 1,350 horsepower with a top speed of 390 miles an hour and 39,400 feet. This is a energy fighter. What an energy fighter means is that it uses its speed, its power, and ability to climb and dive to disrupt and destroy its opponents in an air battle. And these are both Kobe models. This is an older one that's not produced anymore. One of my favorites. I, it's a beautiful aircraft once it's done. But this plane here was the main fighter that the Germans had at this time. It replaced the ME-109E, which got shifted to the Eastern Front in the Soviet Union, where they thought that they have an easier job against the kind of aircraft that the Soviets had, and being that the Spitfire was going to be upgraded and stuff, I mean, the 109E would have been toasted, kind of. So this plane was armed with two 7.9 millimeter machine guns on the upper cowling and a 20 millimeter cannon firing from the propeller hub. So the cannon that were in the wings are eliminated now, giving the plane much better stability, better maneuver, and basically lines the sight of fire to these three synchronized weapons, the two machine guns and the cannon in the nose. So you didn't need a big spray of bullets. One quick burst on target will take the target down from this plane. And they did the cannon removal to improve maneuverability and to make it a fast plane. Like I said, this is actually an energy fighter, meaning it has a wide turning radius. It has a fast climb rate, 3,345 feet per second, and that 390-mile-an-hour top speed, just under 400 miles an hour, is an extremely potent plane and a good plane. It did not have any issues. They improved the cooling system on this plane, and it was durable, maneuverable, and a fan favorite of the Luftwaffe pilots. It was an actually great plane. Going up against this would be the latest Spitfire, which would be this. This is the Mark V B. B meaning B wing. B wing means that each one of these wings has one 20 millimeter cannon and two per wing of the 303-inch Browning machine guns. So this had a total of four machine guns and two cannon, but it was all wing mounted armament that would go ahead and allow this plane to kind of like spray a little bit more bullets. It carried a lot more ammo than the BF 109 F. Now, this plane here can do 2,600 feet per minute, so cannot climb as fast as the BF 109E. Its top speed was like 374 miles an hour. There's variations, but I'm going to use a 374 because when the United States was involved in a war, we've got several of these Mark V B Spitfires that we use, and if you look in the American info, 374 miles an hour was the top speed of this plane. Okay. It's a horizontal dogfighter, meaning it's extremely maneuverable. It can turn tight, and it can turn really, really, really crazily in a dogfight. This plane was powered by the Merlin 45. It produced 1,440 horsepower, and it had one single stage supercharger and a carburetor that was able to handle zero G maneuvers without fuel flow issues. Being that this was carburetor, the float would clog up and it would be going up because it would run out of steam or doing this, it'd have issues. Well, with this different carburetor that Rolls-Royce came out with, this plane could achieve what it needed to achieve in a dogfight, making it pretty maneuverable. It's not as fast as the Messerschmitt that it's going against, this plane, but it is far more maneuverable. Whereas the Messerschmitt's way to get it would be to dive on it at speed, one quick burst, hit the pilot, hit the fuel tanks, hit the engine, plane out. But in a tight turning, slower speed dogfight, this plane is a bit heavier, and the Spitfire could get on its opponent really tight, stay with it on a turn, and blast it with a 20 millimeter Hispano cannon that it had, or a combination of the Browning machine guns and the Hispano cannon. Now, this little thing landed until like the summer of 41, until the FW190 came out, which made this plane totally obsolete, basically. um, so I'm going to just go with these two planes. They dogged it out, and they fought pretty tight, and there's some pretty well-balanced dogfights. I'm not going to go into particulars with that. I just want to kind of show you these planes because they were the thing after the Battle of Britain, before the invasion of the Soviet Union. One notable thing about this plane, the ailerons went from fabric cover to alloy metal, so they're aluminum, they're metal. They're metal ailerons and flaps. And the same with this plane, with the ME109 F. And this, like, by the way, this is a great plane. When I was younger, I built a Revol 118, I think, or 128 scale model of this, which was highly detailed. You could see the engine, you could take the engine, calling off, look at the engine, see the guns on it, the cockpit, the pilot. And actually, one of the first planes that I detail painted, and I didn't paint the overall body, I left it kind of white like this, but I did all the detailing, and I had that model for years. I mean, you could actually take it, play with it, the landing gear retracted on it, but the detail was incredible. And this is a gorgeous plane, and a good plane. And a lot of Luftwaffe pilots like this plane and did pretty well in the skies over France and Western Europe against the Spitfire Mark V. But it also depended upon the pilots. Now, if you see this Spitfire Mark V, you'll see this little thing on the side. Well, that's the flag of Poland. These would be the Polish RAF pilots that came before the Battle of Britain, and they were very highly skilled. And once they started to fly these, they mastered these Spitfires very well. So you would see several of them. If you look at the side of this plane, I'll go to this side here. The German crosses that you see up towards the front by the pilot, those are how many planes this guy shot down. He shot down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 13 German planes. This guy's an ace. A couple times over. But it was that skill that they had in the Battle of Britain, and that the tenacity when Germany invaded Poland, that they were highly skilled pilots. They just didn't have the equipment. And when they came to Britain, they got the equipment. And you could see it in the way that they flew their planes and the way they went up against the Germans and just totally kicked butt on them. This plane was a good match for this plane, even though there was almost a 20-mile-an-hour difference in speed, somewhat. The pilots were good. They could do well with each other in a dogfight. This plane here did really well against the F. As the invasion of the Soviet Union continued, you would see more of these F versions of this plane going to the Soviet Union, and the new plane replaced it, the FW190, which is a totally different beast, and I will do a video on that plane versus this plane. Totally, like, kicked the snot out of this plane and kind of made this plane not involved in exercises in France, strafing targets and stuff, because FW190s were killing this plane. And that's when you see the first P-51 Mustangs, the Allison engine ones, coming in, and at low altitude they actually fared better against the FW190 than this. That would be rectified with the Spitfire Mark IX with a two-stage supercharger, which allowed it to be faster and climb faster and kind of match the FW190 and kind of like make it, neutralize it, not make it such a war-winning kind of air superiority plane in terms of the dogfights that would be going on over in Western Europe and France. So for that short period of time, 1941 up until the summer when the FW-190 came in, that's what you would see in the sky. You would see this Spitfire flying over France, and they could fit fuel tanks to this too, close fitting to give it better range, because this was not a very fuel efficient plane. It was designed as a short range interceptor to shoot down German bombers and fighters. But the thing is, basically for the first air superiority fighters, it had to be continually modified, better engines, better systems, and it was actually a very great plane throughout the war, the Spitfire. But like this version here, this came right after the Battle of Britain, where they needed an upgraded version of this fighter plane, and so they did that with the 45 engine, with the supercharger, the way it was set in here, and that special carburetor, which allowed it to maneuver. And this plane's strength was the low speed dogfight, where it could roll and turn and get on the tail of an ME109 F and shoot it down. But by the same token, if the roles are reversed and the ME109's being the pursued plane, it could probably win in a dogfight too, as it's concentrated firepower. But if it's doing an energy thing where it's diving, the Spitfire's gone. So there you have it. ME109 F, Spitfire Mark V B, B wing being two 20mm cannon and four machine guns, two per each wing. I'll give you a little bit better close-up of this plane because the next video will have the FW-190, and I'll get into more detail. And like I said, this is one of my favorite Kobe models. It's a beautiful plane. They retired this particular one, but it did a pretty good job on the Western Front in Europe. And you would see it also in the Mediterranean. You'd see it, I believe, in North Africa. I didn't go into much detail about this plane, in so much as it was dogfighting this one over France and over southern England. So that's the main context of this video. And this one also, they have a newer version of this, which I also built. And I have an old Mark 9, but I might get a newer one just because it looks better. I don't know, but I might bring that in to the next video because it's kind of a cool plane, but it has decals on it. But this plane here would be the main plane that was doing the fighting, and it did well. I mean, it was for what it was until it became obsolete when the FW-190 made its appearance in the spring summer of 41, and then you don't have this one is important as far as battling there because it's just getting overwhelmed by the technology of the FW-190. But they did rectify it by coming up with solutions. But that being said, that's the way everything goes with these. I also may include one with a Heinkel 111 because the Heinkel 111 was a main bomber of the Luftwaffe, and the Mark V would go hunting for them as they would come in to bomb shipping in southern England and in the English Channel. But that's it for this video. I will have another video like this with the FW-190 and probably one with the HE-111 to give you better insight of how these planes were used. Hopefully you've seen them pretty well. I'll do this one more time, give you one more look-see. Like I said, these are Kobe models. I believe this one's retired. I don't know. I know this one is. So if you want to find one online, you'll pay because they're not made unless they bring them back. And if they bring them back, they usually do some tweaking to make them look better than they are, which you don't need to, but if they do, it'd be kind of cool. So there you have it. The ME109 F versus the Spitfire Mark V B. I hope everybody has a great weekend and see you again soon.